Everyone. In the last session, we started with this numerical. The numerical was based on an ice plant that was working on reverse Carnot cycle heat pump that produces certain amount of ice. That ice was 15 tons per day. That was the ice production rate, and that ice was being produced and maintained at 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that was the condition. While producing that ice at 0 degrees Celsius, that heat pump or reverse heat pump was rejecting heat to atmosphere that was at 25 degrees Celsius. So body temperature is now 0 degrees Celsius and atmospheric temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. So let's try to draw a sketch based on this given data. I hope this is visible clearly to each one of you. So there is one heat pump, but that heat pump is not regular heat pump. Heat pump is now reverse Carnot heat pump. So that heat pump has got reversed. So instead of heat pump, now it is going to act like a refrigerator, because we know that heat pump and refrigerator work on the same cycle, just the intention is different. Maintaining body at low temperature or maintaining body at high temperature, that is the difference. Okay, so this is producing and maintaining ice at 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, if I convert that one into Kelvin, that will become 273 Kelvin, and it is rejecting heat to atmosphere that is at 25 degrees Celsius, and that will become 298 Kelvin. Okay, and to work, it has to be supported by certain external work. Now we know that the heat interaction with the body whose temperature is to be maintained, that we consider as Q2, but as this is heat pump, we are going to consider it as QP2. And as it is QP2, instead of Q1, this will become QP1. So it is going to extract heat QP2 from the body at 0 degrees Celsius. It will consume certain work and it will reject heat to atmosphere at 25 degrees Celsius, and the amount of heat rejected is now QP1. Okay, let's go through the next part of the statement. After that, what they have given, the heat pump used to run the ice plant, that is the heat pump that we just draw on the paper. That heat pump is coupled with a Carnot engine. We know that heat pump is a work consuming device, and for its working we need to provide certain external work. Sir. So next step is now as I said, this is heat pump, so it need to be coupled with some external source of energy for its working, and that energy source is now a Carnot engine. So the heat pump that is used to run the ice plant is coupled with Carnot heat engine, which absorbs heat from source at 220 degrees Celsius. So for that heat engine, source is 220 degrees Celsius. By burning a liquid fuel of calorific value 44,500 kilojoules per kg, so they have given source temperature, and to maintain that temperature, what energy has been used, that has been given. What is that energy? The liquid fuel of calorific value 44,500 kilojoules per kg is being burned to maintain that source at 220 degrees Celsius. Okay, calorific value we have discussed in the last lecture. Calorific value in the sense, if you look at the unit, it is kilojoules per kg. So if I burn 1 kg of fuel, the amount of heat that is going to be generated is 44,500 kilojoules. Okay, so 44,500 kilojoules by burning of 1 kg fuel, that is per kg, and it rejects heat to atmosphere, and it is again rejecting heat to a atmosphere. So let's bring this Carnot engine also in our sketch. So there is a engine that is taking heat from 220 degrees Celsius. Pratik, convert this into Kelvin, and it is rejecting again to a atmosphere that is at 25 degrees Celsius, that is 298 Kelvin. What is the value of this 220, Pratik, in Kelvin?
493. 493 kelvins.
Okay, 493 kelvins. Okay, and as it is engine, so let's consider this one as QE1. Normally we consider Q1 and Q2, but as P is also there, so instead of considering Q1 and Q2 to create confusion, we are considering QP for heat pump and QE for engine. So this is going to be QE2, and instead of considering WP and WE, we are considering W only. Why? Because it is assumed that the engine output is exactly same as that of requirement of heat pump, because they haven't given any additional amount of work generation is there. Like in previous example, there was some extra work was being generated by that combined system. But here, the amount of work produced by engine is consumed by heat pump. So we are considering W for both. We can consider WE and WP also, and we can consider that WE is equal to WP. That is also fine, or simply keep it as a W. Both cases are going to be fine. So this is the sketch. Now let's try to get what we need to find exactly. Determine power developed by the engine. So we need to find this W. That is the first thing we need to be calculated. And second, fuel consumed per hour. They have given calorific value of fuel, and they have asked the fuel consumption rate per hour. Okay, that we need to calculate. That is the second thing. So let's solve for the first one. Now to solve that one, let's begin with the heat pump or refrigerator. Now as it is reversed heat pump is nothing but the refrigerator, because now intended effect is 0 degrees Celsius, and this is going to be the 298 Kelvin is going to be atmosphere now. Okay, now this is our intended body. So QP2 is intended effect, or maintaining 0 degrees Celsius is the intended effect or purpose of this heat pump. So COP of that heat pump or reverse heat pump or refrigerator, can you tell me the relation in terms of temperature? Anybody? Directly tell me in terms of these values, 298 and 273. What will be the relation for COP? Intended effect is this one. Anybody? There are certain relations.
T2 minus T1 by T1.
Very good. So if I write it in terms of temperature, that is going to be 273 by 298 minus 273. Is that fine, Pratik? Okay. And same relation we can use, that is going to be W by QP1. Not QP1. Sorry, what I did? No, we need not to consider this one. This relation will be, if I use that alternative relation over here, W plus QP2 is equal to QP1. If I, for this heat pump only, if I write that relation as W is entering the system, QP2 is also entering the system, and QP1 is going out of the system. So addition of those two, that is W and QP2, will be equal to QP1. So QP1 is equal to W plus QP2. That is one relation. And also for COP itself, COP is equal to, now desired effect is this QP2, and input we usually take W. So these are the three relations that are related to refrigerator or reversed heat pump. First one, COP relation in terms of temperature. Another, COP relation in terms of amount of heat exchange with the body whose temperature is to be maintained divided by work consumed, or there is alternative relation, that is W is equal to QP1 minus QP2, or QP1 is equal to W plus QP2. You can use any of these three relations. Okay. Now let's begin with this one. We have COP is equal to a relation in terms of temperature, that is 273 by 298 minus 273. If you calculate this one, you will get value of COP as, what is the COP value, Pratik? Have you calculated from this relation?
1 minute.
Yeah.
$10.92.
Okay, that COP is 10.92. Okay. Now we are going to use this relation from, is it visible clearly that sunlight is creating some disturbance? Let me rearrange the things so that visibility could be improved a little bit. Okay, so what we did, by using temperature relation, we calculated COP. Now for COP itself, there is alternative relation QP2 by W. Why we are doing this? We need to find this W. That is the first thing that has been asked to calculate, right? They have asked to calculate output of the engine, but we know that output of engine is nothing but input of the heat pump. So either you calculate this one or calculate this one. You are going to get the desired one, right? So here we have got COP. Now QP2 and W both are unknown. W we need to calculate. QP2 is given, but that has been given in some other words. Now how they have given this QP2 is equal to what they have said. If you look over here, an ice plant working on reverse Carnot cyclic heat pump produces 15 tons of ice per day. Okay, so it is producing 15 tons of ice. So 15 into 1000, right? So that much kg of ice per day. That production rate is in terms of per day. 15 tons, I multiplied it by 1000, so that becomes kg. So that kg per day. Now that also has to be converted into seconds, so that I can take kilowatt. Kilowatt is nothing but kilojoules per second, not kilojoules per hour, right? So that we need to convert into kilojoules per second. So let's see how can we do that. 15 tons, we multiplied it by 1000, divide by 24. 1 hour is per day. So to convert it into hour, I divided it by 24. So now it has become kilojoule per hour, right? I need to convert it into minute. So if I further divide it by 60, that becomes kilojoules per minute. I will further divide it by 60, so that will become kilojoules per second. Okay. So that is for 1 kg. Sorry, for 15 kg. Sorry, 15,000 kg. 15 tons per second is there. Now we converted that one into kg. So this whole thing will be now in kg per second. So that is going to be production rate. Okay. This has become kg per second. Initially it was tons per day. Now it is kg per second. Additionally, they have given over here the enthalpy of fusion of ice is 334.5 kilojoules per kg. Now, if you recall the unit number 1, there we studied this enthalpy of fusion. Enthalpy of fusion in the sense, if you want to convert 1 kg of liquid into solid, or 1 kg of solid into liquid, the amount of heat required or amount of heat that has to be taken out of the system will be enthalpy of fusion, that we know, right? We have seen this one in the unit number 1. When you are converting solid into liquid or liquid into solid, that is nothing but the fusion. If you are converting liquid into vapor or vapor into liquid, that is nothing but vaporization. And solid to vapor is the sublimation. So this is conversion of solid into liquid or liquid into solid. So to convert 1 kg of water into 1 kg of ice, the amount of heat to be extracted is 334.5 kilojoules per kg. Means when you want to convert 1 kg of water into 1 kg of ice, this much amount of heat has to be taken out from that water, or its temperature has to be reduced. This is for 1 kg. So if I want to calculate total QP2, I need to multiply it by 334.5, right? Because this was the total rate of production of ice per second. I know the amount of heat to be extracted for 1 kg. So if I take product of all these things, this will be the total amount of heat that has to be extracted. So now I have got the QP2 value. So let's use this relation. 10.92 is equal to, can somebody help me with this one? Calculate this whole thing. 15 into 1000 into 334.5 divided by 24 into 60 into 60.
58.069.
What it is, Pratik?
58.069.
58.069. Very good. Divided by W as it is. We are using this relation. COP is equal to QP2 by W. COP we already have calculated. The QP2 we calculated from the given data. So when you solve this one, you will get W. That is going to be kilojoules per second or kilowatt. solve this one and let me know the W.
0.05.
0.05 Pratik.
सर ते 109 आहे का 4 आहे?
10 no 10.92. Answer has to be
5.317.
correct. 5.3 kilojoules per second or 5.3 kilowatts. That's what I have got. So that is fine. So now we have got the first answer. They asked us to calculate the power developed by the engine. We calculated the power required by the heat pump, and this is nothing but the power developed by engine also. So this is the first answer. Now let's go for the second one, fuel consumption per hour. Okay. So now we need to solve for the heat engine. So that is the second one. So let's write the relation for heat engine. N thermal is equal to, again, this is the temperature of the source, 493. This is the temperature of the sink. So 493 minus 298 divided by 493. Okay. So from this relation, you will get the N thermal, and same thing we can use W by QE1, right? For engine, the efficiency relation is also work produced by heat supplied, W by Q1, but here Q1 is QE1, so W by QE1. So solve this one. Let me know the efficiency value. 493 minus 298 by 493.
Zero 0.395.
0.3955. Can you see the calculator value? Okay. 0.395. Now here W we already have calculated, right? So this relation we can use, or let's replace this W. 0.395 is equal to 5.3 that we already have calculated, divided by QE1, and from here QE1 is equal to kilojoules per second. Calculate this one, Pratik.
सर ते क्लिअर दिसायलाच नाही.
क्लियर दिसत नाहीये?
नाही सर.
आता
हो सर आता दिसतंय.
ओके. Answer has to be 13.341. Okay, you have rounded it off. That is also fine. I will take 13.399. Okay, kilojoules per second. Now they have asked us fuel consumed per hour, right? So let's convert this one. Kilojoules per second, QE1 is equal to 13.399. I need, this is in kilojoules per second. I need to convert it into kilojoules per hour. What I need to do? here when we wanted to convert it from day to second, we divided it by first 24, then 60, and then 60. So here we need to multiply, we need to do reverse to that. So multiplied by 60, second will become minute. When you further multiply by 60, it will become hour. So this is going to be 48168 kilojoules per hour. Okay. Now we know that this is the heat to be supplied to this heat engine continuously. We have calculated this QE1 in terms of kilojoules per hour. Okay. Now we know that this 220 degrees Celsius has been maintained by burning a liquid fuel. Liquid fuel has been burned continuously to maintain this 220 degrees Celsius, and that liquid fuel has got a calorific value of 44,500 kilojoules per kg. Right? That is the calorific value. So when you burn 1 kg of fuel, you will get 44,500 kilojoules of energy. And we know that what energy we need? 48168 kilojoules per hour. So fuel required is equal to QE1 divided by calorific value of fuel. Okay, calorific value will be in terms of kilojoules per kg. This is in kilojoules per hour. So this kg will get cancelled and you will get kg per hour. That is amount of fuel burned per hour. Okay, so let's put values over here. QE1 is 48168 divided by calorific value is 44,500, and this ratio will give you the amount of fuel burned per hour, kg per hour. Calculate this one. 48168 divided by 44,500. 1.082 kg of fuel has to be burned per hour. So this is answer of the second question. Is that fine with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Little complicated and little lengthy also. So I hope all of you have got the numerical clearly. कोण लेफ्ट चाला रे? मगाशी तर 6 होते की. उमेश आहे. देवडे गायब झाला का? Okay, is that fine, Umesh?
Yes, sir.
Should I move for the next numerical?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Write down. Two Carnot engines works in a series. Two Carnot engines works in a series between the source and sink of 550 Kelvin and 350 Kelvin respectively. Source and sink of 550 Kelvin and 350 Kelvin respectively. Full stop. If both engines develop same power, if both engines develop same power, determine the intermediate temperature. If both engines develop same power, determine the intermediate temperature. So there are two Carnot engines working in series. This is quite a tricky question. So listen to this one carefully. So there are two Carnot engines working in a series between source and sink. So there is one source at 550 Kelvin. There is one sink at 350 Kelvin. And there is engine 1. There is engine 2. Okay, there are two engines. Those two engines are working in a series. Now, if both engines develop same power, determine the intermediate temperature. So if I consider this one as T1 and this one as T3, here it is going to be temperature T2, and this T2 has to be calculated. That is unknown thing that we need to calculate. Pratik, is it visible clearly, or do I need to zoom in little bit?
Visible है sir.
Okay. So we need to find this T2, and what they have said, the work produced by engine 1 is equal to work produced by engine 2. So let's consider W for the both. Instead of W1 and W2, both are producing same work output. So let's consider that one as W only. Okay. Now we need to find this T2. So let's see how to do that. For engine 1, efficiency N1 is equal to, if it is producing W1, it is taking heat Q1. Let's consider heat over here is Q2 and heat rejected to sink is Q3. As we have considered T1, it will be Q1. This one is T3, so this will be Q3. And intermediate temperature is T2, so heat interaction will be Q2. Now for engine 1, it is taking heat Q1 and rejecting heat Q2, producing work W. Engine 2, now input is Q2, producing work W and rejecting heat Q3. Okay, so let's write efficiency relation for engine 1. So N1 will be equal to W by Q1 because Q1 is the input. Same in terms of temperature, T1 minus T2 by T1, right? That we know. This is relation in terms of work produced and heat transfer, and this is in terms of temperature. Or this is equal to, for engine 1, Q1 is input and W and Q2 is output, or those two things are going out of the system and Q1 is entering the system. So here Q1 is equal to W plus Q2, right? Because this is entering and those two are leaving. So those two must be equal to or equivalent to this input Q1. So Q1 is equal to W plus Q2. So this Q1 we are going to replace with W is equal, thermal efficiency is equal to W by, and Q1 will be replaced by W plus Q2. Is that fine, or anybody has got any doubt, any query? Is that fine, Umesh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, for engine 2, N2 is equal to, now for engine 2, Q2 is input, Q3 is heat rejected and work produced W. So W by Q2, right? Because now Q2 is the input energy. And in terms of temperature, T2 minus T3 by T2, because for engine 2, T2 is the source temperature and T3 is the sink temperature. So T source minus T sink by T source, or T higher minus lower by T higher, and is equal to W by, again just like this one, this Q2 is entering and Q3 and W is leaving. So I can replace this one with W plus Q3. This Q2 is equal to W plus Q3. Okay. So this is equation 1. This is equation 2. Now what we are going to do, let me see if I have a red colored pen. I am going to use this bracket from equation 1, and I am going to use this bracket from equation 2. Okay. Now let's see how we are going to use those two things. From equation 1, from equation 1 in the sense from this red bracket from the equation 1. T1 minus T2 is equal to Q2 plus W. We have taken it to other side. Okay. T1 minus T2 by T1 is equal to W by W plus Q2. This is the bracket from equation 1. Let's try to simplify this one. T1 minus T2 by T1 into W plus Q2 is equal to W. What I have done, I have shifted this W plus Q2 to the left. So on the other side, I will get only W. Now let's multiply those two brackets. So T1 minus T2 by T1 into W plus T1 minus T2 by T1 into Q2 is equal to W. I have taken product of those two brackets, W into bracket, Q2 into bracket, and as plus is there, so it will remain addition of those two. Now this is multiplication of bracket with W. Here we have got W. So let's try to shift to the left. So T1 minus T2 by T1 into Q2 is equal to, this W is there, minus W into T1 minus T2 by T1. This whole thing I have shifted at the right side of the equal to, so that will become W minus this whole thing as it is. Okay. Now let's try to solve this one. I'll take W common. So W into 1 minus T1 minus T2 by T1. I will make square bracket for this one. And on simplifying this one, this T1 is there. So T1 into 1, this W will remain as it is. T1 into 1, T1 minus this T1 I have multiplied with 1, and this T1 minus T2 will be subtracted. So minus T1 plus T2. This T1 into minus T1. and minus minus plus T2 divided by T1 as it is. So this T1 will get cancelled and I will get relation W into T2 by T1. Is that fine, or anybody has got any doubt till this point? T1 minus T2 by T1 into Q2. Left side is going to remain as it is. I haven't changed anything in that left hand side. I have just played little bit with the right hand side. Okay. Now here there is T1 in the denominator, T1 in the denominator. So this one will get cancelled, this one will get cancelled, and I will get a relation W is equal to T1 minus T2 by T2. This T1 got cancelled. This W into T2 is there. So I have shifted this T2 to the left. So that will become T1 minus T2 by T2. Suppose this is equation number 3. Okay. Now let's come back to the equation number 2 now. We are done with equation 1. Now let's try to get something from the equation number 2. Equation number 2, I have highlighted those middle two terms. W by Q2 is equal to T2 minus T3 by T2. So from here, I can write what relation is W by Q2. Let me use this small space over here. W by Q2 is equal to T2 minus T3 by T2. This bracket I have written as it is over here. W by Q2 is equal to T2 minus T3 by T2. Now I will shift this Q2 to the right. So W is equal to Q2 into T2 minus T3 by T2. Okay, is that fine?
Sir, the Q
sorry, I just I couldn't hear what you said. Can you repeat that one?
Sir, the equation 3 मध्ये Q राहिला multiply करायचं.
Sorry. Yes. This Q2 is going to be there. Okay, very good. So in this equation there is no ambiguity, right? It is clear to everyone. Yes, Umesh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's name this as equation number 4. Now if I compare equation number 3 and equation number 4, I can see that left hand side is W. And in the numerical itself, they have mentioned that actually this is for the engine 1, this W is for engine 1 and this W is for engine 2. But they have said that both engines are producing equal power. So this W is going to be this W. That's why instead of taking W1 and W2, I have taken W only. So if left hand side is same, I can easily equate right hand side also. From 3 and 4, Q2 into T2 minus T3 by T2 is equal to Q2 into T1 minus T2 by T2. Right? I have equated this one with this one as left hand sides are equal. Now here this Q2 will get eliminated, this T2 will get eliminated, and I will get relation T2 minus T3 is equal to T1 minus T2. Okay. Now here I have the value of T3, I have the value of T1. T1 is 550 Kelvin, T3 is 350 Kelvin, and this T2 is unknown. So you need to solve this one and find the value of T2. So put the values and tell me the answer. What T2 you get.
$450.
Very good. T2 is equal to 450 Kelvin. So that is the intermediate temperature that we were asked to calculate. Umesh, you also got the answer?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go for the last numerical. I will give this numerical as a homework. I'm not going to solve this one, but I will note it down on the paper. Use this side. Write down. It is proposed. Let's not do this also. What I will do, I will post this one in the Google Classroom as an assignment. Okay, you solve it and post your solutions over there only. So unit number 3 we are going through. Unit number 3, first part is second law and second part is entropy. Actually, till previous semester, this second law of thermodynamics was unit number 3 and this entropy was unit number 4. They haven't reduced content of either second law of thermodynamics or entropy. So content is same as that of previous semester, but instead of 2 separate units, they have made 1 unit, right? So we are done with first part, second law. Now we are going to study the second part, that is entropy. Okay. So now I will stop sharing from that mobile and I'll share PPT from the laptop only. PPT is visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's skip all those things. I'm not going to repeat that all against you and all. Let's begin with the objectives. Okay. So this is second part of the unit number 3, that is entropy. So we'll be talking about basic concept, what is mean by entropy. Then we'll talk about entropy principle and its real life applications. Then we are going to prove that entropy is a property of system also, just like in the unit number, I think unit number 1 itself, we proved that energy is a property of system, right? So in a similar manner here, we are going to prove entropy as a property of system. Then we'll explain the temperature entropy diagram, just like PV diagram and pressure temperature diagram and all. In this unit, we are going to draw temperature versus entropy. Temperature on the one axis and entropy on the other axis. And we are going to discuss that temperature entropy diagram, or what we can get from that temperature entropy diagram that we'll be talking about. Next, we are going to state and prove the Clausius theorem. Now, in examination, I have seen a few students getting confused between Clausius statement of the second law and Clausius theorem. And additionally, there is one term, Clausius inequality. So Clausius second law statement is there, that is something different. Clausius theorem, that is something different. And additionally, there is Clausius inequality. So you shouldn't get confused between those three things that we are going to see in upcoming slides. So after Clausius inequality, we are going to calculate change in entropy for various processes. Means if you add something into the system, if you mix two systems together, or if you add heat or remove heat from the system, how entropy is going to change, that we are going to study. We are going to solve numericals based on that one. And finally, uh, quite interesting thing, entropy and reversibility, or entropy and direction, or entropy and disorder. In past or in 12th science or somewhere, if you have studied or if you have heard about this entropy term, you might have heard in the form of degree of disorder or degree of randomness. So what exactly is degree of this disorder or randomness, and how it is related to entropy, that we are going to discuss in this unit. Let me shift this toolbar somewhere else. Okay. So let's begin with discussing the term entropy itself. So what is mean by entropy and why studying it is important? Now to have better understanding of this one, let me ask you certain questions. Before that, let me get the pen from here. Okay. Consider there is one source at temperature 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, suppose this is A, and there is another source, or let's consider another body that is at temperature 200 degrees Celsius. Let's consider this as a body B. Okay, this is A at 100 degrees Celsius, this is at B at 200 degrees Celsius. I am adding 10 kilojoules of heat to it. Okay, and I am adding same 10 kilojoules of heat to this also. So there is one body at 100 degrees Celsius, another body at 200 degrees Celsius. I am adding same amount of heat to both bodies, and suppose work that is obtained from this body is W1 and this body is W2. Can you guess whether W1 will be greater or W2 will be greater? Pratik?
Sir, repeat करा sir एकदा.
There are two bodies. One body is at 100 degrees Celsius and another one is at 200 degrees Celsius. I am adding same amount of heat to both the bodies. And after adding that same amount of heat to those two bodies, I am taking some amount of work output from those two bodies. So I want to compare the work output from those two bodies. So
200 degree body at 200 degrees Celsius.
The body at 200 degrees Celsius will have more work output, right?
Yes, sir.
Very good. And that is correct answer. Even when you add same amount of heat to the body, if that heat addition is at higher temperature, you can get more amount of work output from that. Okay, very good. That is really nice to know that you got this concept. Okay. So let's relate this one with the entropy now. So entropy is function of quality of heat, which shows that possibility of conversion of that heat into work. Means for the source or body 1, we provided 10 kilojoules of heat and we got some work output. For 200 degree Celsius body, we provided 10 kilojoules of heat. We got some work output. Now, I want to relate this with the entropy. Suppose entropy change for body 1 is delta S1 and entropy change for body 2 is delta S2. Okay. So if I compare this delta 1 with delta S2, I can easily predict from where I can get maximum work output. Now how that is going to be useful? Let's see. The increase in entropy is small when heat is added at higher temperature. Is that clear? The increase in entropy is small when heat is added at higher temperature. Means delta S2 and delta S1. Delta S2 is temperature, increase in entropy when heat is added at 200 degrees Celsius, and delta S1 is change in entropy when heat is added at 100 degrees Celsius. So which delta S is going to be greater, delta S1 or delta S2? From this statement, the increase in entropy is small when heat is added at high temperature. Which one will be more?
The 200 degree.
Delta S1, delta S2. Entropy increase small when heat is added at higher temperature. So this is going to be like this one. Delta S1 will be more compared to delta S2. Why? Because increase in entropy is small when heat is added at high temperature. So this is higher. So delta S2 will be smaller than delta S1. Okay. Next. Thus, for maximum entropy, there is minimum availability for conversion into work. And for minimum entropy, there is maximum availability for conversion into work. That we know, right? When heat is added at 200 degrees Celsius, we get W2. When heat is added at 100 degrees Celsius, we get W1. And we know that W2 is greater than W1. Whereas delta S2 is smaller than delta S1. So this last statement is correct. When there is minimum entropy change, there is maximum availability. And when there is maximum entropy change, there is minimum availability. Is that fine with everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So if I write relation W1, W2, this relation will be like this one. Okay. This is really interesting concept, and this you need to remember like for years. This is the basic of this unit, whole unit. What is entropy? How does it changes with heat addition or subtraction, and how it is related to availability of the work. Because the ultimate goal is to convert heat into useful work, right? And entropy is the function that talks about the availability of the work, or in other words, it talks about the amount of energy that could be converted into useful work. Okay, so that way studying entropy is important one, and that's why we are now studying this one. I'll move to the next slide now. Okay, now I'll ask you a few questions. Suppose there is one chamber like this one, and like I have 9 molecules of gas. 9 molecules of gas are there. Means this is quite ideal condition. We can't even touch the molecule, and now I am asking to put 9 molecules of gas into a chamber. But just assume that one. Okay. So now, if I put those 9 molecules of gas in a chamber, whether this kind of arrangement will be there or this kind of arrangement will be there. Suppose this is first kind of arrangement and this is second kind of arrangement. So which kind of arrangement would be there? First one or second one?
First one.
Exactly. Because we can easily relate that if you 9-10 students are there, if I ask you to go and sit in the classroom, nobody is going to observe what you are doing in that classroom. The first kind of scenario is going to be there. Each one of will be sitting anywhere doing anything he likes to do, right? So the randomness or disorder, if you compare state 1 and state 2, this is orderly state because molecules are arranged neatly, whereas the state 1 or system 1 is the molecules are moving here and there. They are randomly placed. So degree of randomness is more in case of state 1 and degree of randomness is less in case of state 2. So obvious state or naturally accepted state is randomness. If you let things happen by its own, randomness is going to be there. And if you want to have this kind of arrangement, you need to have control over the process, right? If you lose control, you will get this kind of system. And if you have control, you will get this kind of system. Similarly, there is one example. These are the bricks, right? You got bricks for construction work that has to be done at your home. And if you ask that truck or trailer driver to simply drop all the bricks on the floor, what kind of arrangement is going to be there? This one or this one? This is first, this is second. Which arrangement is going to be there? Again second one, right? म्हणजे एक ट्रक आणला आणि त्याला डायरेक्ट मी पलटी केला तर मला हे अशी अरेंजमेंट मिळेल का? नाही मिळणार. दॅट इज नेक्स्ट टू इम्पॉसिबल. व्हॉट अरेंजमेंट आय एम गोइंग टू गेट? दिस वन, राईट? सो disorder will be the most probable situation, or if you let things happen, disorder will be the output of that process. Even I talked about this picture in the I think first lecture itself. What consent was there while discussing this picture? If you read the caption, this child says to his mom that according to second law of thermodynamics, all things, which include his bedroom also, move from state of order to state of disorder, right? So he was like giving excuse for keeping his room unorganized. He has thrown all his things in room the way he want, and when his mom is complaining about that disorder, he is supporting that disorder by using the second law of thermodynamics. What he says that according to second law of thermodynamics, all the things move from state of order to state of disorder when you let them occur by its own, right? So here that degree of disorder or degree of randomness has been related with the entropy. Now, how that entropy and how this randomness is related. If you look at this first picture, then second, third, and fourth, this is most orderly, right? If you compare this one with this one, the disorder has got little bit increased. When you come to this picture, that disorder has got further increased. and this is the most disorderly arrangement. Now, if you compare the entropy, in case of most disorderly things, the entropy is highest one. If you go in this direction, the entropy will keep on decreasing. This state will have lowest entropy. This state will have highest entropy. Highest disorder, high randomness, high entropy, high disorder. Low randomness, low entropy, low disorder. Is that fine with everyone? Now let me connect with this with the energy conversion. Now this is orderly form. Orderly form of energy are kinetic energy, potential energy, chemical energy because of chemical arrangement and all. If I convert this kinetic energy or potential energy into heat, the degree of disorder is going to increase. Means if there is one dam in which there is certain amount of water stored, so this is now potential energy, right? If I release water from here, that water will get converted into kinetic energy. If I drop this water on a turbine, turbine will rotate, electricity will generated, and while rotation and all, suppose that there is certain amount of friction and all, and there is generation of heat. Okay, so this is most orderly arrangement. When it get converted into kinetic energy, there is some amount of disorder or involvement of some amount of disorder. That disorder will further increase. Now, when you look at the energy conversion rate, potential energy can be converted into kinetic energy with more efficiency. When you convert kinetic energy into mechanical energy to rotate this turbine, that efficiency will drop little bit. So when you convert one orderly form into another form, you will have more efficiency. When you convert this one into next step where the degree of disorder has got further increased, the efficiency will reduce little bit compared to this one. When you convert, okay, so there is a direct relationship between efficiency or energy conversion rate, entropy, and degree of disorder. So what that relation is, whenever you convert one form of energy into another form, if in that conversion, if degree of disorder is going to increase, means let's consider over here, this is state 1. If you convert that energy into this energy, or suppose this is potential energy and you have converted into kinetic energy. So in this case, suppose you have efficiency N1. When you convert this kinetic energy into some other form of energy, and if in that conversion, if degree of disorder has got increased, then efficiency is going to be reduced. And if you further convert that energy form into some other form, with increasing degree of disorder, the efficiency will further decrease. Okay, so when system changes from degree of order to disorder, its entropy changes, entropy increases, the entropy, suppose this is S1, this is S2, this is S3, and this is S4, then this S4 will be highest one. S3 will be smaller than S4, S2 will be smaller than S3, and S1 will be smaller than S2. So when you increase the degree of disorder, there will be increase in entropy and there will be decrease in efficiency. Okay, so when you convert one form of energy orderly to disorderly form of energy, same efficiency cannot be maintained for the next conversion, because there is going to be increase in disorder and decrease in efficiency, because there will be reduction in availability of the energy for the conversion of into useful work. Is that fine, or do I need to explain again, Pratik?
No, sir.
Okay, so we will stop over here, and in the day after tomorrow's session, we will continue with the temperature entropy diagram and next derivations and all. So I will stop over here. If you have any additional queries, you can post it in the Google Classroom or contact through WhatsApp also.